In lesson 63, we are adding vectors. In example 1, we have a word problem. It says, flying arrow left the village and traveled 20 miles on a heading of 20 degrees. From this point, he traveled 40 miles at a heading of 210 degrees. How far from the village did he end up? Alright, so first I'm going to write those as just polar coordinates. So 20 miles on a heading of 20 degrees would be 20 and then 20 degrees. And we're going to be adding this to, so use 40 miles, so 40 at 210 degrees. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is change these polar coordinates into rectangular coordinates. So I'm going to have 20 cosine 20 degrees and then 20 sine 20 degrees. Okay, and then when you work that out, you'll get approximately 18.79, and then we label that with an R. And then with the sine, when you work that out, you get approximately 6.84 U. So I'm rounding those to the nearest hundredth. I think the book rounded those to the nearest tenth. As long as you're rounding them correctly, it should be fine, unless it's specified to a certain amount, whether it's hundredth, tenth, thousandth. Just be careful about that. Alright, and then on the next one, this will be 40 cosine 210 degrees and 40 sine 210 degrees. Okay, so when we work this one out, we end up with a negative 34.64R. And then with the sine, we get a negative 20U. Alright, so then we just need to add our like terms. So I'll add 18.79 plus negative 34.64, and that gives me a negative 15.85R. Okay, and then I'll add the u's together, so it'll be plus, and this looks like it's going to be negative, so you might want to write that as a minus instead of a plus, so minus, then a negative 13.16U. Okay, so if we think about this as this kind of being the x and this being the y, we would be going west and then south. So we would say that he ended up 16, well, if you wanted to round it, we could say, we'll say 15.85 miles west. Think about the village being the origin there. And then the 13.16 miles south. And this is from the village. Right, and the next one, they just tell us to add 30 at 55 degrees and 10 at 170 degrees. So we're going to use that same method using the cosine and sine. So I'm going to have 30 cosine 55 degrees, and then I'll have 30 sine 55 degrees. Okay, so when I work those out, and really you just put those in your calculator, it'll be 17.21R, and then 24 4.57u. Right, and then for the other side, see that was for this first one here, but for the next one, it'll be 10 cosine 170 degrees, and then 10 sine 170 degrees. Anyway, so when you put that in your calculator, you're going to get negative 9.85r, and then for the sine, we'll get 1.74u. Okay, then we just add our like terms together. So I combine the 17.21r with the negative 9.85r, and that gives me 7.36r. Okay, and then for the sine portion, I'll combine my u's together, so it'll be plus 26.31u. Okay, then depending on if they ask for what particular format, you could just leave it in this format, rectangular coordinates, or you might have to change that back to polar coordinates. It just depends on if they specify that or not.